First of all, it's a pleasure to present here today in Taiwan from China. It's my big pleasure. And, we are currently in very difficult times because of a war we have also in Europe, because of pandemic and other things, which is, of course, very serious impact to the automotive industry. And then, of course, we have also the big topic, the general topic about we call it the third revolution in the automotive industry. That's in regards of digitalization. And I would like to address those issues to you today. And of course, in those times of digitalization, of software, of cybersecurity issues on OTA, so software updates over the air, quality becomes much more important than before. And of course, we also adjusting all our standards based on that one. And, we also have to see that quality is let's say, have different tasks they need to take care of, in particular in regards of the software and digital topics. And I would like to highlight that today in the presentation. So I brought a lot of charts to you, and you can have those charts afterwards. So that is, we can share that. So my topics is first of all the VDA QMC introduction. And then I come to the challenges of digitalization, the automotive industry in general. Then I'm coming to the VDA standards actually, and also the training overview. And then I would like to share with you very shortly about the CSR, the customer specific requirements, because Volkswagen and Daimler has adjusted it on the ETF page. And then I would like to talk at the end about the new era, about the deglobalization, about the chip shortage, and also COVID-19 impacts on the global trade. And then I would like also to spend some words for the Ukraine war and also the sanction against Russia before I'm coming to my summary. All right, so lots of very hot.
All right, I'll try to quickly translate that. Hope I remember all of them.
Sorry.
对头，我刚刚介绍哈，其实就像这个铁总他提到的，过去一直有新的一些变化，然后科技上有一些新的变化，那再加上呢 VDA 它一直不断的都有发展新的一些标准哈，所以由这一面上面你可以看到，其实就是等一下他会整个做的这个议程的一些稍微的一些说明哈，但我想这个已经蛮清楚，就不多做翻译。Okay, please go ahead.
All right, that was fast. So thanks. Now, starting with the VDA QMC introduction. So first of all, I would like to share with you that we are already 15 years here in China, with the main target to make trainings on our VDA standards and also to help suppliers and also the car manufacturers to implement German, let's say, quality standards into their organization. And we have opened, you can see here, our new office in the DRC building here in Beijing, together with some important VIPs from all German OEMs and with some people from the government here in Beijing in May last year.
就从这个第一个哈，就是铁总也很高兴跟大家宣布哈，从2006年开始到目前的VDA QMC 呢，尤其是在中国的这个办公室呢，已经庆祝了它第15年的这个生日了啊。那也就如同他刚刚介绍 ，VDA 它在这个整个供应链里面的角色呢，除了是去发布一些新的标准，尤其是这些标准怎么在供应链里面去做实施，来去协作这个 OEM 跟这个供应商整个供应链里面这个协调的一个角色啊。所以也是很高兴各位的一些协作啊，在这个去年2021年的5月呢，庆祝第15个的纪念日，15岁了。
All right, thank you. So for those who don't know, our headquarters is in Berlin, and here in China, that is where I'm currently sitting in this building here in the diplomatic residence center, and that's our office in Shanghai. It's close to the airport, but as you heard, Shanghai is currently nearly closed down because of COVID-19. And then we also have an office in Shenyang, where currently it's also difficult to run the business because of COVID-19 impact.
好，那简单介绍一下，目前 VDA QMC 在中国有3个分公司。那第一个呢，就是铁明铁总今天做的这个办公室哈，这个叫做 DRC，其实它也是有个特别的一些地理的意义，尤其它是 diplomatic。在外交上面一个受重视的一个办公室呢，也就是说，也隐含说明了 VDA QMC 其实跟中国的一些 OEM 啊，还有这个官方单位是个不错的关系。那另外介绍的是上海以及沈阳的办公室。那上海办公室呢，基本上目前因为受 COVID-19 的影响哈，所以目前是关闭当中的。那沈阳的话呢，比较特别，是最近才新成立的啊，就是你看到资料上面看到是2021年7月哈，所以去年研讨会的时候还没有沈阳的办公室，你可以看到这是个新设立的办公室据点。
All right, we also have an office in Russia, in Moscow, and due to the war in Ukraine, we are thinking to close this office. I'm coming to this topic later. Also, a lot of plants are shut down from German OEMs in Russia. So this is a very serious issue, and I think next year when I will present, I will not have this picture anymore to show the office in Russia.
哦，是的，接下来是一个比较严肃的话题哈，就刚才提到铁明铁总铁满先生，等一下也会跟大家分享一下这个战争对乌克兰战争对整个俄罗斯的一些影响。那目前呢，VDA QMC 正在考虑，也许会关闭 VDA 在这个俄罗斯的这个办公室，也可能明年在做 present 的时候，我们就不会有这个地点了。
Of course, we have license partner all over the globe. You can see over here, and I'm very happy to support ENCONA here in Taiwan. So that is where you can see ENCONA right now as a very important license partner in Taiwan.
谢谢铁满哈，就是当然这个 VDA QMC 在全球也有它合可的这个授权的这个合作伙伴，包含在台湾的代表呢就是我们达宽 ENCONA 哈，所以也是今天有这样子合作的关系，我们可以办这样子的研讨会。
All right, so what are we doing? I will run through each pillar, then we do a translation. So first of all, we are translating the VDA standards into Chinese language, and then we are selling that. Unfortunately, we can sell it only via books because we have still copyright issues. We cannot send electronic versions.
那接下来就是简单介绍一下 VDA 在产业上面的主要的核心的业务。那当然呢 ，VDA 呢，它除了德文的标准，它也会翻译成英文的标准。那中国卫地安最主要的这个任务之一呢，就是再把这些 VDA 标准呢翻译成中文哈，所以至少这样在中国中华区或是台湾的人比较方便使用。可惜的是，目前并没有电子档。好，因为一些 copyright 这个版权的一些疑虑哈，所以目前我们都还是只提供纸本的标准。
The second pillar is the training. Of course, based on our standards, we do a lot of trainings, and ENCONA do the same trainings. Those trainings are released in Germany and made by the German automotive industry experts. And you can see in 2021, we had already the digital topics, so cybersecurity and software updates. But for 2022, it's even more important. So you can see it here with the symbol. It should be a symbol also for the time where cybersecurity becomes more and more important issue.
是的，那第二个业务呢，当然就是对这些标准啊，或是行业适用的一些工具来去做培训。那当然，在台湾 ENCONA 达宽也是担任这样子，可以提供这样子培训的业务。那铁总特别提到，你看到2021年的这个培训目录，你就可以看到，其实就已经注重了这个所谓的数位化。好，数位化这样子的一个议题，那包含比如说整个软体的更新 OTA 的一些技术，或是呢所谓网络软体 Cybersecurity 的一些议题哈，其实从2021年都开始，那一直延续到2022年呢，都是非常重要的话题。
So then we come to the certification. So after you pass successfully our examination, then you also get a certificate. We have changed in the beginning of this year. Of the year of the tiger, we have changed to electronic certificates. So those cards you will not see anymore. We will not issue. But if there is really high demand, let us know. Let ENCONA know or let myself know, and then we can still, of course, also give you those cards if you really want it. But we decided worldwide that we have only electronic certificates.
那也是因为数位化的浪潮哈。那当然，以往大家上了我们的课程呢，都会收到训练的一些证书或是这个资格的卡片。那VDA QMC 呢，从今年开始，做一个重要的决定，全球呢都只发布这个电子档、电子的证书，也就是说，未来呢，你取得了任何的培训还有资格的证书呢，都会是电子的。那当然，如果你对整个卡片，如果还是有这样纸本卡片啊、纸质卡片的一些需求请让我们知道，让 VDA QMC 知道，让 ENCONA 知道，我们可以适时的帮你反映不过也是个重点，因为因应化、数位化的需求，所以从今年开始，我们都只提供电子档的证书。
Because training itself is not enough, we also do coaching, and it's coaching, it's not consulting. So we coaching actually our trainees, our customers, how they actually fulfill VDA requirements in their shop floor, in their organization, how they implement something. I think that's also something very important we do exclusively here in China.
好，那除了这种公开班的一些培训呢，有一些企业它还是需要，尤其是怎么把它实施应用到我们整个这个现场的一些管理、生产现场，或是整个实施应用上会去做一些 coaching 所谓这客制化的一些培训。它跟咨询有点像但是我们是不太一样，就是所谓的客制化培训。那目前在中国VDA QMC 也有提供这样的服务，那在台湾 ENCONA 也有提供这样子的服务。
And very important, last but not least, is the networking. Of course, what we're doing here today, the conference. We also do a lot of conferences, and I would like to share that with you on the next charts. Very important is to get together to discuss about all the changes we're having due to digitalization. So I very much appreciate that we're coming here together and can discuss about all the changes which are ahead of us.
好，那当然像今天这样子的一个场合呢，就是来去做一个资讯交流那等一下他也会再介绍一下今年会有哪些的活动，在这样子的 event 这样子的活动里面呢，大家可以去交流哪些新的技术，哪一些变更。
All right, good. So here you see our event calendar. You have that also available on our webpage, so you have access to this one. We of course publish this also on WeChat. But I know you guys in Taiwan are not always using WeChat. So very important here is the next big event which is coming up, and we bring it for the first time to China, is the Q Summit. All right, so that will be during the auto show in Beijing, and it will be a big event where all the, let's say, executive levels will come to present.
是的，那大部分的活动呢，他们都会透过微信的账号大家当然明白，台湾微信其实并不是每个台湾的人都会使用的但是有兴趣可以加他们微信账号，这些的这个 event 活动呢，在他们的微信账号都会有这样子的宣传。那这个最重要的是，在左下角你们看到一个这个 Q Summit 品质高峰会这样子的一个活动呢，是在4月26号配合北京车展一起展开的一些活动。
All right. We also have the Product Integrity Day, which is actually with the recall authorities here in China with DPAC or SAMR. It's very important. We call it the Product Integrity Day because we're referring to everything what have to do with recall. And you know, recall today is also done by software updates over the air, so OTA. And I'm coming to the topic later on. We have a lot of new regulations here in China. So this is also a very important conference. And, you know, both of those conferences will be also online accessible. We're opening up for the first time for, you know, participants from abroad. So you guys from Taiwan can, of course, participate to see what's going on in China. Since 2 years right now, it's very difficult to travel to China. We think we need to open up our conferences also for people abroad. So we will do it, and you're most welcome to join this online as well.
好的，那另外一个呢，就是你这边看到5月12号呢，在中国也会举行的产品诚信日PI 产品诚信日。那这边呢，尤其是会邀请在中国呢负责 recall 召回相关的一些监管单位 DPAC 或者 SMR 这样子的官方代表一起参加。那尤其大家都了解，现在在汽车行业里面召回管理是一个非常重要的课题，尤其可能又会使用到新的一些技术，所以在这里面是一个很重要交流的一个活动。那刚刚有这个重要的一个新的重点呢，就是说从今年开始，因为考量到 COVID-19 的关系，所以呢，台湾或是国外的这个参加者与会很难去旅游或是进入中国来参加这样的活动，所以呢，也是首次开放给国外的人士参加，而且是用线上的方式参加的。
All right, and then also another very important conference is the conference This China, which is all about automotive spies, so about software requirements actually, and we also have a new software requirement I come later on for cybersecurity within the automotive spies.
好，那另外一个重要的这个活动呢，就是在这个 SYS 就是它主要是在ASPICE 这样相关的一些技术的一些分享那除了 ASPICE 以外呢，等一下也会介绍到 ASPICE 一个新的标准，主要是关注在这个网络安全那在后面呢我们会更详细的说明。
All right. So very important, what I said already, all those events are open for abroad, so you can access to this one. And I think to not lose track about what's going on in China, because China is very important. It's not only the biggest automotive market, it will be also the market where we're launching new technology. So I think it's very important to see what's going on here in the Chinese market, and you can attend if you want.
好的，所以就像刚刚说明的现在这些活动呢都有开放，我们从国外，尤其是从台湾的人呢，你也可以透过线上活动线上的方式来去参加。那当然也是因为中国市场比较特殊尤其是对一些车的一些技术发展相对也是比较创新的所以呢，尤其是对这个中国的技术、中国市场车的市场呢有兴趣的话呢，都欢迎来参加用线上的方式来参加这些活动。
All right, good. So very shortly coming to the Q Summit. We don't have too much time, but we're doing this Q Summit in Germany already since more than 20 years. And I think now it's time to launch it also here in China. And, you know, you can see that we have really high shots from BMW, Volkswagen, Mercedes-Benz, from SAMR, from CAM, and also from suppliers like Bosch, who were the quality award winner in the last year, and also from ZF. I will show you the next page.
好，那这个 Q Summit 就是品质高峰会我习惯叫品质高峰会。基本上在德国 VDA QMC 德国已经有举办20年的历史了那铁总他也希望呢把这个活动带到中国所以2022年呢在中国会是第一次举办品质高峰会这样子的一个议题。那第一次举办呢也邀请到一些重量级的来宾包含这个左下角你看到这个3大德系车厂 BMW、Volkswagen 跟 Mercedes-Benz 以外呢比如说比较重要的一些 Tier 1包括 SAMR Bosch ZF 等等这样子比较重要的这个 Tier 1这个重要的角色的嘉宾都会参加品质高峰会。
Yeah, so here's the first draft of the agenda. So you can see we have really high guys also from SAMR, from the recall authorities joining this event. We have people from Qatar joining, and also our president personally from Germany, Mrs. Müller. She will do the opening speech, and we also have Dr. Damaski. And we have also the professor from the German Quality Association joining in live. And then a lot of good keynote speakers here from all the OEMs, as I said before, and from suppliers on very high level. So I cannot run through all the program, but if you're interested, please check our webpage. We will soon make an announcement about the detailed agenda.
好，这边呢先稍微show一下review 一下我们到时候这个 4月26号的品质高峰会哈，邀请到哪一些嘉宾？那除了这个 VDA QMC 的最高的这个主管哈，Miss Miller 小姐以外呢，女士以外呢，包含比如说 Damaski VDA QMC 的这个主管，还有呢比如说 SNR 是在中国负责召回这样子的一个官方单位，这样子的一个代表。那同时他们会邀请到一些德国的一些嘉宾譬如说在德国的这个品质协会的这个 professor 的教授呢，来用连线的方式来参加。所以如果你对这个活动有兴趣的话呢，提名邀请大家呢，就是关注他们的微信账号，然后呢，留意一下他们的最新消息。欢迎大家都可以报名参加这个品质高峰会，用线上的方式就可以参加了。
So I would appreciate to see some of you online here on this conference. Again, I think it would be a very big event with very interesting speakers on the stage.
好，就是诚挚的欢迎大家哈，也非常如果有台湾人去参加的话，铁总也会觉得非常高兴。
All right, and for us it's also a milestone that we're broadcasting it to foreign countries for the first time. Usually we only did those events in China for China, but we're opening up for this one. All right, now coming to the training catalog. That's an electronic version, our new training catalog. You can also download that.
好，所以刚刚提到这个在线上开放的话呢，对 VDA QMC China 也是非常重要的一个里程碑就是再次诚挚的欢迎大家参加。好，那另外一个在这一页呢，我们可以看到呢，新的电子的这个培训目录呢，也是以2022年开始我们这个新的培训目录。
So this year we have a PDF version and also an ebook. You can read that one. You find it under those links, and I don't want to explain anymore, but I would like to explain you on the next page about what is new in the training catalog.
好，那当然你可以下载 PDF 版本呢，或者所谓电子书的格式下载或这个连接都在这个 PowerPoint 上面可以找到。
All right. So first of all, that is content is showing here. So of course, still what is new from last year is the VDA 6.0 process auditor, which is new in this one. There's and then very important is now. Sorry, yeah, please go ahead. First translate.
That's okay. 就是我们等一下会 focus 介绍一下新的标准。新的一些培训，那在这一页你可以看到 VDA 6.7是一个新的更新的一个标准跟新 release 的一个培训。那我们都知道过程稽核，对不对？我们大家比较熟悉的 VDA 6.3，那 VDA 6.7呢，主要是对生产设备商的 process audit 的过程稽核，这样子的稽核员的一个培训。
Yeah, maybe let me mention also something here, which is also new. We do that exclusively in China. We don't have that in Europe. That's a management training. So we do a lot of management training because we think that the management needs to be informed about the time of digitalization, the time of changes. And therefore we do a lot of trainings, for example, for Agile, but also, about product safety, product integrity, product compliance, about Volkswagen requirements, and so on. I don't want to go in detail. And you can study that. If you have questions, you can ask.
那尤其是在中国市场针对中国的一些状况它也提供了很多所谓 management 的管理阶层实务管理阶层它 management 这样子的一些课程，尤其是比如说你可能是从其他行业转来，或是你有些新的一些技术如果不清楚的话，都可以欢迎来了解包含比如说是 Agile 或是你从刚进入车业，你不是很了解什么是产品安全 product safety 相关的一些议题，那如果有兴趣的话呢，都可以来他们的这个培训的这个目录里面来去看一下有哪一些中国这些特制化的一些课程。
All right, now coming to quality management methods, the PSB training for Volkswagen has been actually canceled. I'm coming later on to the customer specific requirements. End of March, we will stop those training, and right now only the product integrity training to become a PSCR are available right now.
好，那重要的一个消息呢，也就是说，等一下在我们介绍 CSR 的时候也会提到 Volkswagen 的 CSR 里面呢，已经正式取消 PSB 的要求，现在会以新的 Product Integrity 产品诚信这个课程所取得 PSCR 这样子的资格来取代 PSB。
All right, for special characteristics, I think is still very important. is also referring to the Volkswagen requirement on TDLD. So on special characteristics which have a safety impact. We also have a training on that one. I think that's still an important training.
好，那像是 Volkswagen 它的这个 CSR 里面呢，如果特别提到所谓的 TDLD 哈，这样子所谓的特殊特性 TLD safety
Exactly,
就是跟
yeah
跟安全有关的特殊特性啊。那这样的特殊特性呢，整个在工程面上开发的过程上面要怎么去做管理啊？那大家就可以参考这本手册跟这个手册展出来的一个培训哈。
All right, and then we also have a very new standard. It's still yellow because the training yet is not released. We are waiting to get the training material from Germany, but we have brand new in the last week released the VDA 5 standard. I can show you is this book. Okay, it's quite big, so a lot of pages, and you can buy this one right now from us. We just released it last week. And it's about, let's say, the capability of measurement process. So it's comparable with the MSA, and we will hear more about that from Heidi later on.
不错哈，那这就是刚刚提到 VDA 5，我知道很多人都有询问所谓的 VDA 5啊，那当然也提到其实这个相对于 AIAG 哈的 MSA 这样的一个手册，那刚刚铁明在手上也有给大家看哈，其实是中文版哈的标准呢，上个礼拜呢刚发布了哈，那刚刚在镜头上面也有给大家看，其实是相对来说蛮厚的哈，这个标准。那我们目前呢现在是黄色，我觉得其实我们现在还在等待它的这个培训的一些教材。好，那上面也看到呢，我们预计希望是在2022年的5月，好就可以推出 VDA 5这样子的一个课程。那也就是说，它其实基本上是对应的测量过程哈相关的一个这个手册。那等一下呢，如果有机会，时间也够的话，在我的部分也会帮大家再介绍一下。
All right, we need already to look to the time, Heidi. Okay, then I'm coming to the software issues and the digital requirements. This is a new category here. So, of course, we have ASPICE Intax training, and the ASPICE, I will also like to share that later on when we have time. They have changed their structure, they will change it, hopefully, most probably in Q3. And we also have a new standard called Cybersecurity. I said that already, and also the process expert. But it's yellow because yet not released, so we are waiting for changes coming.
好，那另外一个 ASPICE 呢，有一个新的分册呢，叫做Cybersecurity 就是网络安全，好，那稍后的时候呢，我们会比较做详细的介绍。那除此之外呢 ，VDA 有一个这个 ACSMS， 好，这个稍后我们也会一起来去做介绍。
All right, then we have the ACSMS. That means Automotive Cybersecurity Management System. We have a standard released last year, and the training is also launched for that one already. So I think this is very important. If I have time, I will talk a little bit more about that one, because that is the cybersecurity management systems requirements along the supply chain. So I think it's also in particular important for, let's say, the semiconductor industry and electronic industry we're having in Taiwan.
好，那另外一个你目前看到的这个汽车业的网络安全管理系统呢，它的这个培训呢已经合可了，已经可以大家可以来报名参加了哈。那尤其呢这个网络安全呢，整个在供应链里面，尤其呢怎么从OEM呢串联到我们的供应链里面，尤其是在台湾的这些半导体产业如何去符合这样子的要求哈。后面我们也会做详细的介绍。
All right, then we also have the ISO 21434. We do this training together in a cooperation with Digital. So I think you know that is the standard for cybersecurity for road vehicle engineering. It's a very important standard, and it's a basic, actually, like the ISO 9001. That is a basic standard for the cybersecurity management system. So we also do training based on that one.
好，那这个也是我想业界很多人都关注的 ISO 21434，一样是网络安全的工程相关的一些要求哈。那一样我们也有这样子的课程。
All right, then I don't know if you're familiar with TISAX. That's standing for Information Security, and they're that's a very important standards where it is different from cybersecurity, because we're talking about the information security. So the information within an organization and in between exchanging, in between different organizations, so also along the supply chain, for example, for CAD data and other logistics and sensitive data. That's a very important training. So far, not very common in China, but since we have Volkswagen and Hui having the majority, they're requesting it, becoming more and more famous right now also in China.
好，那另外一个跟资讯安全哈，它不是这个所谓联网这样子的一个网络信息安全，而是说在组织之内，或者是呢你在供应链跟你的顾客传递交换资讯上面呢，你怎么去确保资讯的安全，尤其是有一些 confidential 机密上面的这个资讯，你要怎么去控管啊？那这个呢，目前呢 Volkswagen 呢在它的 CSR 里面也有强制的一些要求哈，所以我们可以预见呢市场上会有更多这样子的要求，欢迎大家来参考这样子的培训。
And then also the training, of course, is well known, already established since a while. It's about the functional safety, the ISO 26262. So we also have this training right now in the program.
好，那个关于 ISO 2662哈功能安全，我们 VDA QMC 也有这样子的培训。
All right, so then very important, I think, is the Agile Collaboration. So we have a book where we're defining in which level on Agile collaboration you are actually, if you, with your partners or even with your business units, and how this Agile collaboration should be defined before you start a project. So I think this is a very good standard, and we have also a training on this Agile collaboration.
好，那对于 Agile 这样子敏捷协作哈，VDA 除了有这样子的一个标准以外呢，我们有这样子的训练。Agile 呢是希望整个在专案管理上面哈，我们要怎么去决定我们的这个水准哈，或甚至我们这个 project team 要怎么去做管理哈，都是一个很好的参考手册。
What we also launched here in China only with, let's say, a business partner with CPC as a consulting company is the Agile Go. That is actually a workshop where we're simulating Agile frameworks and Agile work principles in a 2 days workshop where everybody can learn what are the advantages of Agile. Unfortunately, so far we are not offering this in Taiwan, but it's really something very nice.
好，那特别在中国哈，他们有另外一个合作的伙伴，特别对这个 Agile 这样子的这个工具哈，有一个 workshop 工作坊的这个实作的一些课程哈，只是比较可惜，目前台湾还没有这样子的课程。
All right, then also what we are planning to do is a training in regards of OTA. So OTA stands for software updates over the air, okay, here in China, because we have specific regulations in China. So I will personally work on this training together with the OEMs. I'm coming to more details later. So we're also hoping that we can release this training, let's say by Q2, maybe end of Q2 this year.
好，那特别在中国，尤其是对 OTA， 就是说用这个软体更新的方式，好来去做召回等等，它有非常具体、特殊的一些要求。所以 VDA QMC China 呢也预计希望针对中国的一些法律要求，希望在 Q2 好也可以推出相关的课程。
All right, then we have also the MMOG training. I think you are familiar with the MMOG requirement. That is more for American OEMs, but also some German are requesting this. This is for logistic requirements.
好，那 MMOG 呢，主要可能是美国的这 OEM 在要求哈，但是呢，也有一些德系的这个车厂要求。那像这样，相信大家也都有听过。
All right, and then also new is the high voltage training, which we have also done. We started with high voltage training here in China. Actually, that is more for blue collars and for those guys who are working on the shop floor or even in the R&D department with high voltage. So it's a safety training actually also from Germany we started here.
好，那这个也是一个新的一些训练哈，尤其是在 High V 就是所谓的高压哈，那它都是主要都是一些实作哈，这是一些安全上面的一些要求，主要都是在制造的一些现场，好，或者也可以邀请我们 R&D 的人来参加。
All right, so that should give you a little overview about all the new training. So you see there's always a lot in change, and I'm coming later on under top 3 to the new standards and what kind of trainings will come up also in the near future and in particular in 2022. But now let's come to the challenges of digitalization in the automotive industry, and I would like to give you a little very general overview about what's going on currently in the automotive industry.
好，也是说你可以发现每一年呢都是有一些新的标准。那接下来呢，我们就来看哈下面的重点，也就是说目前在汽车业上有哪一些新的数位化的挑战。
All right. So first of all, we have all those challenges, and of course, everybody has a strong impact. You also suffered a lot of COVID-19 impact, and we have a lot of delay in logistics, and even sometimes the COVID, virus is transported over the supply chain also into, let's say, locations. Here in China, we had that at the airport where air freight comes in, but also at the harbors. So a lot of this disinfection needs to be done. And of course, you all know about the big ship shortage, where of course Taiwan play a major role into that one. So that's tremendous impact we're having right now into the automotive industry.
那尤其是 COVID-19 的影响哈，这张上面我相信很多人都有相同的感受。那刚才有提到呢，包含比如在物流上面，好，不管是海运、空运，哈，都有物流上面的一些影响。那尤其左下角你也可以看到所谓晶片短缺哈，这也是在目前全球供应链上非常重要的一个议题。那对这个晶片短缺上面呢，台湾的好，尤其是我们的半导体产业，有一个很重要的一个角色。
But of course, we have a lot of other issues like the digitalization, the mobility as a services, new regulations from governments coming out also in regards of road safety. We have the mega city concept. We have the environmental issues, of course, changing to new energy vehicles. And then we have also the connected cars and sustainability in the supply chain. So all this have a tremendous impact in, first of all, in the budgets for R&D, but also in the change of the whole organization for the automotive industry, including the supply chain.
那当然呢，你在上面也可以看到有很多新的面向的一些挑战哈，数位化或是一些新的这个技术带来的一些变化，比如说有新的一些标准还有比如说我们整个在汽车上面怎么只卖它的移动性，好，或者是呢在整个环境面上，比如说我要怎么去做环境保护，或是整个在我们供应链上要去做永续的一些经营等等，这些其实都对我们来说造成了蛮大的一些挑战。所以这一些呢，要怎么把我们公司的一些策略，或是整个在未来在研发创新的一些角度要怎么去做调整，其实都非常重要。
So I'm coming to more details now on the next charts. When we're looking, that is a car today. We have actually in the future autonomous driving and automated driving. We have connected and integrated services, and of course we will have mobility as a service. So it's not only that you're driving with a car to a city, you also want, when you come into the city, use other public transports just to be mobile, and that will change, of course, the total, let's say, services which needs to be provided. You're not only selling a car, you need to sell services, and that is a big change for at least, let's say, for the traditional car manufacturers.
好，那这边呢，就用这张表来解释哈。现在我们可能只是卖一辆车而已，但是在未来呢，可能你会看到我们需要有自驾的，汽车要有自驾的一个技术，或是呢，车子要有联网的一个技术，或甚至呢，消费者会希望呢，我不是只有买台车，我是希望可以提供整个服务。好，就对我整个出行，我整个在移动上面的一个服务，我可能开着车到了某个定点，还包含要帮我安排其他的一些出行的一些工具。所以呢，不是只有在卖一台车，而是整个 total 的一个整个完整的服务性，这是对我们未来汽车的一个想象。
All right, so we have, of course, with all those changes, also potential risks, for example, on cyber attacks, but also on the new innovation on EE functions, which needs to be done. And of course, we need new laws and regulations, and there's always between a new technology and a new law, which is defined a gray area. So currently China, but also the rest of the world are creating a lot of new laws for, let's say, the digital future of the cars, and sometimes it's very difficult to understand those laws also and to fulfill them also. Technical compliance becomes also a very important issue for the automotive industry.
所以当然这些改变就会带来新的一些风险哈，包含比如说可能有这个骇客攻击，那里面用到很多所谓的电机电子 E&E 哈，电子电子新的一些技术，新的技术呢就需要新的法规标准，但是呢我们的法规追得上我们的这个技术的改变的一些速度，就产生了一些所谓的这个 gray area 哈，这个灰色的一些地带，那我们要怎么去平衡好这样子的一个发展？
So laws are definitely needed, but it does not make sense if we have only a law for China and we have a different one in Europe and maybe a different one for Taiwan and a different one for US. That makes, actually global trading for a global product, a car, very complicated. So I would like to explain you a little bit what is, let's say, the hierarchies of laws and regulations on some of the next page.
那我们等一下也会说明，当然这些标准、这些法规都是需要的，但是不可能就是中国有中国自己的法律，台湾自己有自己的法律，欧盟有欧盟自己的法律，所以怎么在做这个法律上面的全球化、统一化呢？那这样才能造成我们就是协助我们在做全球贸易的时候，可以消除我们这些这个不一样区域的这个交易上面的一些壁垒啊，所以在后面呢，他也会花一点时间来介绍这个上面这个介绍这个世界好这个国际统一标准上面的这个阶层哈，这样子标准的一些关系。
So here you can see what we're facing already today. So that is not something which is in the future, that already risk we are facing. So actually we have a lot of fire cases for the NEVs, not only in China, but I'm showing only the Chinese fire cases here. We have cyber attacks on cars. I'm coming to more details later on. We have misusage of OTA. So some cars get stranded even on the highway here. When the customers are doing a software update, because then the car is not driving anymore. It's different when you do a software update, of course, with your smartphone, if it doesn't work. But if you stand, for example, on a highway in a traffic jam and you do an OTA update and your car's not driving anymore, but then maybe there's no traffic jam after, let's say, a few minutes anymore, or then you're still standing there for 2 hours on the highway, is very risky. So that's a big issue right now on the OTA, which you're having here in China. And then, of course, also the robotaxi, which are coming right now into many cities already here in China. There's a high risk, of course, that there can be, safety-related impact. And that is why we need new laws and we need to have, let's say, clear regulations and requirements.
好，那这边当然提到哈，目前在市面上我们在车子道路上面已经有看到一些新的技术哦，那当然就是有些冲突带来一些新的风险，包含比如说这个新能源车其实有很多这个失火哈，电子上面的一些失火的一些风险，或甚至呢已经有车子已经有这个骇客攻击这样子的事件。那有一些车子呢它是有 OTA 这样子的一个技术，但是呢它的这个软体更新跟我们手机或者消费型电子使用的这个状况不太一样。如果今天这个车主呢是在高速公路上，他觉得他塞车了，那我不如用这个等在车子里面的时间来去做 OTA。那但是他一旦启动 OTA 的时候，他的车子就没有办法工作了。那他可能被困在高速公路上面2到3个小时。其实，在整个使用的情境上面是对安全上面是一个高风险的一个状况啊。所以对于整个车子上面的 OTA， 它相对于其他的这个联网的这些电子设备有什么不一样的要求哦？是一个很新的这个风险。那接下来这边右下角也有提到，比如说在中国已经有很多的城市就有所谓的计程车机器人这样子的。好要求，这很新的技术没错，但是它当然对整个安全上面也有很大的一个风险哦，一个新的一些 impact 这样子影响。那我们要怎么去推动新的标准、新的这个技术上面的要求
？All right, so software, of course, will be doubled by 2030, and it will be much more important for all the OEMs and tier ones in regards of driver assistance, of body electronic, of multimedia, but also for the connectivity of the cars, and about having an ecosystem in place, also having the right apps and services. So will be very, very important, and that is also why, of course, quality is changing currently.
那当然我们可以预想哈，根据研究呢，在 2030年的时候呢，这个软体相关的工程呢，已经就会双倍了。那它对整个车厂还有 Tier 1上面呢，当然是越来越重要。那它整个应用上面呢，除了我们的这个驾驶辅助系统啊，或者我们整个使用的一些 App 啊，应用的这些一些 App， 或甚至呢，比如说自驾的一些技术啊等等，它都会有更多的这个功能上面的一些连接，所以对我们品质要求上面呢，当然一定也会带来影响。
All right, so in the future, of course, we will have much more, let's say, subsidiaries of OEMs where they're working really only on software. One example is Cariad here from Volkswagen Group. I think you might have heard that they also have now kind of joint venture together with Bosch where they're developing software. But we have also a lot of IT companies. You have heard about Foxconn, you have heard about the Apple car, you have heard about me. So all they will enter into the, let's say, automotive business with the target to have actually a tablet on wheels and in the future even to have an autonomous driving car. So we have a lot of new players, a lot of new startups, and it's really difficult to keep the overview here. And very important, the software is a key for the future, definitely.
好，那当然以既有的这个车厂，它当然就会有更多的策略投资，比如说跟其他的 IT 公司合作，或是自己就成立分公司哈，来去 focus 在所谓软体上面哈，或者你可以想象，已经有很多新的这个 IT 的公司哈，比如说刚刚提到的 Apple 苹果车，或是在台湾的这个 Foxconn，其实都已经踏入我们汽车的一些行业啊。那当然这会带来创新的一些技术这边做的一个结论就是当然我们的软体跟服务在未来呢，会是汽车行业非常重要关注的一个项目。
All right, now next chart should just show you that the automotive software market having an expected volume of 200 billion by 2030. I said it's already doubled, but the volume in regards of value in the revenue will be more than 4 times higher than what we have today. So there's a tremendous impact, and of course Taiwan play a very important role when it comes also to the software and to the chip market, of course, for the automotive industry.
好，我刚刚试着把这个200 billion 换算成这个中文，好像有点难哈，但我直接说，这边讲到说，你可以想象哈，对于这个未来的想象是在2030年呢，你可以想到这个跟软体相关的这个产业的市值呢，会到美金200 billion 哈，已经是目前的市值的4倍。
All right, maybe I skipped because of the time this chart right now. What I just want to explain very shortly, I can do. It's not it's not about only selling a car. It's about the ecosystem for mobility, which you need to provide when you're selling the car. So it's about the services in the future, which is very important. And that is an example here from NIO right now. And that is where all the OEMs need to take care of, because they will not only sell the cars.
这个从 Neil 分享的范例就是说，未来不是只有卖车，它整个相关的一些生态系统车子以后它的整个适用的一些 application 它的生态系统反而对消费者来说会是更重要的。
All right, and here you can see what is an ecosystem. Here should be the customer in the middle. He wants to be anywhere, anytime, from any device, be connected to the internet, of course, have mobility as a services, and you can see all the services around. Due to the time, I cannot go to all the details here right now, but I think if you read that through, it's very clear how connected cars needs to be in the future and what customers are expecting.
这张图呢，简单来说明什么是所谓的生态系统。从中间绿色这个车子里呢，连接到各式各样适用的一些生态系统，给大家做参考。
All right, now we're coming to, of course, when we have those connected cars, they need to be linked to everything. We call it also V2X, so that's V2 infrastructure. But of course, they also having, communication for real-time monitoring, for example, with the government here in China. They also need to have a back end, and then also need to communicate with a charging station and with a cell phone, and even with suppliers. and third-party providers. So there is a lot of connectivity, with other words. And wherever we have connectivity, and that should be this red viral symbol here, we have, of course, a risk for cyber attacks.
好，那只要一旦车子有联网功能，你看到哈，这张图秀到的时候，它可能有跟这个即时监控的一些监管单位，或是 OEM 自己的 backend 这样子的监管，或者它用到额外第三方的这个软体的这个之间的一些供应，只要有新的这个这个沟通上面的接口，都有可能是骇客攻击的一个好风险。
So cyber attacks are a big issue. So it takes 20 years to build up a good reputation as an OEM, but only with the cyber attacks, it takes only 5 minutes to ruin it. So that's definitely something which is very serious, and nearly every OEM has been hacked already. Okay, so that's very severe, and I would like to share some data with you afterwards.
所以从这个quote你知道，对这些车厂来说，建立这个名誉要20年，但是只要5分钟一个小小的这个骇客攻击，就会使他们的名誉丧失。但是也可以看到，这些所有的 OEM 其实都有经历过所谓骇客攻击的事件，所以是目前车业非常重大的一个挑战。
All right, this is a very nice report. I always like that. I don't know if you're familiar, Upstream Security. You can also download it free of charge, this report. It's from 2021. And here you can see, how many OEMs has been already hacked, and also where they're getting hacked. So in total, we can say, as a summary, 51 OEMs has been hacked. Also 11 tier 1s and also tier 2s, including the semiconductor industry. So it is a big issue, and we need to make sure that, of course, we are safe. So cybersecurity becomes a major, important issue in the automotive industry.
好，那推荐大家可以参考这个 Upstream 哈这样子的一个免费提供的一个报告，看这网站上面呢可以免费下载。在这个去年2021年的 Cybersecurity 骇客攻击报告里面就有提到，总而言之呢，总共有51个车厂呢已经有经历过骇客攻击，但是对 Tier 1呢甚至有11家，或甚至呢 Tier 2，你会想说，我们都已经是 Tier 2了，但是你在这个报告里面也看到，好，甚至半导体产业呢也有6家有这样骇客攻击的事件。
All right. So what is also important here to mention when we look into those data, we are not talking about data, which are shared directly from the OEM, because some are maybe, kept very confidential. And also all about the hacks we have maybe in China, they are not reported usually, so they are not included here. So the real number will be definitely much higher.
当然这个中国因为资讯的关系哈，所以没有把它包含在这边。但是你可以想象，如果再加上中国发生的一些骇客攻击，肯定是更多的。
All right, now coming to the next page here, there you can see actually physical access. We have only 20%, and like nearly 80% is remote access. So remote access is also mainly the OTA topic. So you see that a car is really on risk because the hackers can access remote.
你可以看将近80%都是透过远端了，所以其实这个接口都是透过远端 OTA 技术所造成风险，造成这样网络骇客攻击。所以可以看到 OTA 这个技术的控管相对来说是非常重要的。
When we're looking now to this report, you can see the highest hack is on data, actually, on privacy data, so over 30%. But what is very scary is that they can also take over the control of car systems or even manipulate the whole car system. And of course, that is very much safety related. So that is why the recall authorities are taking very, very serious care about the OTA topic and also about the cyber attacks on cars, because cars can be, if they can be controlled by an external hacker, can become a weapon.
所以从这个报告里面可以看到哈，当然最多30% 的都是这个个人资料外泄的问题，但是呢，更可怕你是看到哈，这个 control system 就是在汽车的控制系统或者所谓的操作系统上面呢，分别还有24%跟4%，这些都是跟安全有关的啊。如果真的呢，我们的车子呢被外部的骇客攻击而且操纵的话，我们的车子呢会变成像武器一样，是非常危险的一件事情。
All right, so what are the very important steps for the regulators and authorities to ensure cybersecurity for the future. I'm showing you on the next page. All right, then I go. That is the regulations we have. Of course, this is a general explanation. So we have first the legislation, so the laws, then we have the regulations, then we have standardization, and we have automotive specific requirements like the VDA standard and also the customer specific requirements from the OEMs. So that's a hierarchy, and of course, most important is always the legislation. When we go into China, we have the national laws, and then afterwards we have the regulations, which are GBs and GBTs, and we have a firework of GBTs and GBs here in China, which needs to be fulfilled, and that is sometimes very difficult to keep the overview for that one. And then, of course, we have international laws here, and I just put something out of that one, and the VDA and CSRs, of course, are the same globally.
那当然，我们刚刚提到哈，新的法律制定上面，那我们来说明一下呢，有不同的角色，然后不一样的这个阶层。那最主要呢，最上面都看到是跟法律立法有关的哈。在欧盟上面呢，好，当然是欧盟会制定相关的法律，那接下来会参考哈，比如说它监管的一些监督的一些法律，好，比如说UN 相关的一些法律，或者是呢国际通用的一些标准。那接下来是汽车业好适用的具体的一些标准。那这边画面上你看到是中国适用的一个架构，那在台湾当然也有相关的一些机构，譬如说 BSMI 啊，是制定台湾的相关的一些法规啊，所以你可以有这样子的一个总览哈参考。
And you know, for standardization, we are usually having international standard. But when it comes to the regulation, we have different one in Europe and different one in China. And when it comes to national law, we also have difference. So that is very important to understand what are the difference if we deliver to those countries.
当然呢，我们对整个国际上面通用的标准，我们会采用所谓 ISO 的标准，对不对？但是呢，对每个区域、每个经济体或甚至每个国家，它都有这个适用的立法的单位。那在中国呢，你就要考量中国的法律 GB 的标准，到其他欧盟就要考量欧盟的标准，所以你要清楚你目前产品或使用在哪一个国家适用的法律法规。
All right, so here I'm just showing you an overview about all the different regulations for cybersecurity. Because of time, I'm not going through here right now, but you can see here that there are regulations in China and regulations in Europe, and we also have the VDA standards over here. And you know, this is not harmonized with each other. That is a big issue for also the OEMs.
好，所以你可以看到哈，所以这个跟 Cybersecurity 哈网络安全上面适用的法律法规已经有这一些啊，包含左边看到的国际标准，好，或是 VDA 制定的一个汽车业通用的标准。但在右边比较麻烦的是，目前在各个区域、各个经济体或是各个国家呢适用的法律法规，哈，还是没有协调统合在一起的。
But since China have started to ship also cars to Europe, they are now even more interested to follow also the UNECE, so the European regulation, when it comes to cybersecurity. So we see much more open dialogue for that one. Before, China was more doing cybersecurity requirements, especially for China. Now they are more opening up also in the dialogue with Europe, let's say.
好，那铁总也分享了一下，在中国，他以往呢就是只比较关心自己国内里面的一些相关立法，但是因为外销的一些关系，所以他也目前对这个 UNECE 就是欧盟的法律呢，也越来越有兴趣。他也试着想要统合中国的法规来去协调跟欧盟的法规把它统合在一起。
All right, now that is the UNECE regulations. I think you heard about that, the regulation 155 for cybersecurity and regulation 156 for OTA, so for software updates over the air, because they're directly connected to each other. And this is very important that you also need to see that OTA is very much connected. I was showing this in the data before to cybersecurity as well.
好，那当然对网络安全上面 UNECE 呢，目前有2个，好像大家都蛮熟悉的，一个是 R155 呢，是对网络安全。那另外呢，对软体更新上面呢，而是 R156。那当然就是整个骇客攻击一体两面这2个都是非常重要的。
So those requirements, you should know, they're becoming mandatory by July this year, all right? And there have been this standards or regulation have been released by September last year. So very important is how that all works together. So I have here an overview about the ECE regulations, also about the VDA standards we were writing to that one for the automotive, let's say, supply chain and also for the OEM, and then also the correlation to the ISO standards here.
好，那这张图呢也说明了一下哈，这个 UNCE 它这样子强制性的一些要求。那这个 UNCE 的 R156呢是去年发布，但是在今年的7月就变成强制了，对这些车厂是个强制必须要符合的要求。那相对于呢 VDA 它的也有制定相对的 VDA 的标准。那在最下面你也看到 ISO 呢也已经制定相关的 ISO 的标准，都已经发布了。
So I would like to focus shortly on the automotive cybersecurity. That is the ACSMS standards, which I mentioned before, where we started the training. So let me please focus on that one.
好，那这个我们就是关注重点来说明这个网络安全管理系统啊，而且我们已经有这样的标准以及适用的一些训练，跟大家来做介绍。
All right. So here you can see, actually, for the car manufacturer, it is very important for the type approval. In Europe, is the ECE approval. In China, is the CCC approval. They need to fulfill the ISO 21434 requirement. But for the supply chain, and that is mainly applying for also the semiconductor industry or electronic industry in Taiwan, but also for other suppliers, of course. If they have, of course, a cybersecurity impact. If they just do a rubber part, then there is no cybersecurity impact. Then that is not relevant for you guys. But if you are actually, having cybersecurity impacts with your parts, and that is the case for semiconductors, then the ACSMS audit will be performed by the OEMs, and they also requesting that you do self ACSMS audits. So that is the reason why the standard is written, and it's very important for the entire supply chain.
好，那从这张图你可以看到这个相关的结构最右边呢，也就是说 OEM 这些车子它在市场上要上市的时候呢，它必须要通过这个形式认证，也就是类似像产品认证，它需要通过 ECE、CCC 等等这样子的一些认证。那当然这个 UNECE 也要求这个 OEM 的车子上市之前呢，要通过 ISO 21434这样子的形式认证。那整个对它的供应链里面都要 Tier 1、Tier 2，或是这边看到的这个 Tier 2以后呢，不管是半导体晶片相关的一些产品，只要你的产品呢会影响到网络安全，但我们不提这些，比如说橡胶零件啊，这个对这个网络安全是没有相关的影响但是如果即使你是 Tier 2、Tier 3，但是你的产品对网络安全有影响的话呢，当然你的 OEM 你的汽车的这个顾客呢，他还是会用 VDA 这样子的一个标准 ，VDA 的 ACSMS 来要求你要符合这样子的要求，所以你必须要做自我的稽核。你的内稽你自己要稽核，或甚至呢你会接受所谓二方的稽核，你的顾客也会来稽核 ACSMS。
And very important maybe here to mention that one, it's not only for parts producers, it's also for service providers. So if we have, for example, a cloud provider, then he is of course also someone who is needs to have this kind of ACSMS in place. The same would be for a V2X, like a traffic light which is starting communicating with the car. They also need to have that. And when we talk about cybersecurity, it's a communication with the vehicle. This is very important. Has nothing to do with information security, which is just the information in between the organization. That is all about the product. That is the cybersecurity is all what is at the end in the car as a part and as a service.
好，这个还有一个重点所以这边提到并不是只有零件呢，而就是说如果今天你是 service provider 是软体服务的话尤其是 ACSMS 它是从汽车产品本身出发，如果你今天是汽车联网功能有关的，或甚至呢比如说你的这个零件啊，你的这个service 是比如说跟这个交通灯，以后未来我们自驾上面或是整个城市的这个自驾我的这个红绿灯也可能会有跟汽车有沟通这样子一个功能，那其实呢这些你都适用在所谓ACSMS 这样子的一个要求。
All right, now I will do a little faster because of the time. This book actually was translated already in April last year. I was presenting it also on the last conference with ENCONA in Taiwan. So that is what the book is looking like, and here you can see who was working on that one.
好，那这个书我们去年也有介绍也就是说网络安全管理系统这本书那中文版呢也已经上市了。
All right, that is chapters, and so most important, of course, it's chapter 5. It's a questionnaire where we have all the questions, which you need to ask in this kind of, let's say, ACSMS audits.
好，那这边稍微给大家看一下这个标准里面的一些章节架构，最重要当然是第5章哈，里面所谓这个提问表的一些要求内容。
Then here you can see all those 21 questions is not so much actually, and you can see here on the Cybersecurity Incident Center response. This is very important that already we're having here 6 questions because it's very key to have a cybersecurity incidents response along the supply chain that you can react on cyber attacks very fastly and you can actually reduce the risk immediately.
好，那这里面其实总共有20个提问表哈，并不是最多，但是在这里面第7章节哈，对于这个骇客攻击事件你怎么去做反应哈，怎么去做响应，这也是这个条文里面最核心啊，也是说你要怎么及时的去做反应，然后怎么去降低这个风险，这也才是这本标准里面最重要核心的部分。
Of course, very important as well is the management support for cybersecurity, that the management is responsible for that one, the risk identification and risk assessments and so on. But I don't have time to go deeply into that one here right now.
好，当然还有一些其他，比如说管理面向的支持啊，整个去做风险评估哈等等的。那因为时间关系，我们就不赘述。
All right, so now come to the qualification of the auditors. Here, of course, it's very difficult to get this kind of guys who are experienced with cybersecurity on the same time having experience with making audits. So actually, we say for the qualification of cybersecurity expert, we can refer to ISO EIC 27001 or even functional safety. That would be enough as a qualification. And then if you have some experience, it's defined here in hours, on doing ISO 9000 or ELTF 16949 audits, that would be enough and sufficient. But if this is not possible, and that is most likely, then you can go at the beginning with an ACSMS audit team. You can go out to make those audits. So you have one cybersecurity expert, and then you have one, let's say, lead auditor who has a lot of audit experience in the automotive industry. Then you can start like this, and maybe one day he has also enough experience to do the audit by himself when he knows more about cybersecurity.
好，那当然是谁可以来上课，谁可以来执行这样子的一个集合呢？你可以看到呢，1、2、3里面各有不一样的一些要求哦。那在3里面，你可以提到呢，基本上有 ISO 27001资讯管理系统，或是26262啊，这个相关的这个工作经验都可以。但是如果没有办法同时符合的话呢，我们也可以参考，比如说有这个集合团队哈，用不一样的团队各有各的专业，用技术专家这样子的一个想法哈，来去组合集合的成员。那希望在累积经验以后呢，他也可以成为单独独当一面，可以自己独立去集合的集合员。
All right, you will learn more about it when you come to our training classes. So we are planning to launch the training here in Q3 and this year in Taiwan with ENCONA. We have launched it already in December here in China, and we are running trainings also. If you need some qualification before, we can also provide that online, of course, and you can contact us.
好，那当然了，这个课程目前在中国已经开放了哈，而且是线上课程。那在台湾的话呢，我们预计在今年的第3季度也会执行这样子的课程，欢迎大家来关注一下我们的最新课程消息。
All right, so here's showing you a little bit the overview. I will skip it. It's a 2 days training, and you can see here all the content of this training, but I will not go very detailed into that one.
那这个是给大家概览参考一下哈，这个为期2天的培训，大概会涵盖哪一些项目
？All right. So we also have a white paper you can download from us. You can read more about the ACSMS. So please feel free to enter to our homepage and download this white paper, and then you learn more about it.
那当然这个我们也有提供VDA 也有发布相关的白皮书，那你可以到 ENCONA 网站，也可以到 VDA QMC 的网站来去下载，也有中文的白皮书哈，可以给大家参考。
All right, then coming to OTA. OTA is really a very, very hot topic. You can see that here. That is Mr. Wieland. He's the CEO of BMW or BBA, so BMW Brilliance Automotive here in China. So he was presenting about this topic, and he said it's really a very big issue, and we also need to respect the IPs of all partners. And what he means with this one, you know, we need here in China to share all the software with the authorities. So we need to send the software package for OTA up front to the recall authorities, and later on I will share you also more about that one. And that, of course, we don't know if you know, the IPRs are protected for that one, and that is why he also mentioned that this is a very sensitive issue.
那当然，我们刚刚前面提到这个 OTA 既然这么火红，这么重要哈，所以在中国呢，他们也有一些相关的一些活动。那这个照片里面看到的是 BMW 的 Brilliant Center 哈的这个老板哈，这个 Dr. Whelan 哈。那他为什么会有右边下面的这句话呢？就是说在中国呢，目前的这个recall 哈召回的一些主管机关呢是要求所有这个汽车厂呢，或是你有这个软体相关用到 OTA 技术的软体相关的这些 record 这些 quoting 呢，是都必须要提供给监管单位的。那当然，因为法律的要求，他们必须提供，但是他也作为这个 producer 这样子的一个角色，是希望去强调我们这个开发出来 coding 这些软体的这个角色开发者哈，希望我们的这个智慧制裁权也可以受到尊重。
All right, very shortly, we have a standard that's a product integrity standard, which include the OTA part, but for recall only. So that means after SOP. I think this is an important standard, and I will come to more details.
好，那这边呢，我们等会来看，尤其是SOP 量产以后啊，或是怎么去用 OTA 来去做召回管理哦，我们有个比较明确的手册。那等一下铁总也会帮大家做比较详细的介绍。
All right, so first of all, the OTM requirements here in China are defined by SAMR already in November 2020. So that's quite a long time, and they were also very much advanced. When you look to Europe or you look to United States, you don't find that. But unfortunately, there has been also a new regulation defined by MIIT, so the Ministry of Industry and Information Technology here in China, and they also have sent out now a requirements in July last year, and now those OTA need to report from OEM either one time to SAMR and also to MIIT, and both of them need to agree to that one. So there's a big question, if one of them will not agree to that one, what is the OEM then doing? Can he still provide the OTA? And by the way, I said that before, the SAMR has built up a big OTA data center where all the OTA data are currently are saved, and we are not sure if they are IPR protected over there.
好，所以这个铁总先分享了一下目前在中国的状况啊。左边呢，这个前身是 DPAC， 现在叫做 SAMR 哈，是以往这个对 recall 召回管理的一个监管单位。那当然了，你如果用到 OTA 的技术呢，它也发布了一系列 OTA 这个技术的一些标准啊。刚刚前面也有提到，比如说它也要求呢，这些 recall 的这一些 OTA 的这些 source code 和软体这些 source code 也要储存在这个 SAMR 的这个系统里面。那当然，身为这些德系的一些 OEM， 他们也会有一些 concern， 一些保留，不知道这个制裁权是不是有到妥善的保护的哈。那在这个右边呢，这个是在这个中国的这个信息资料部哈，也就是说类似 IT 这样子的一个监管单位，因为这个新的特别提到这个对 OTA 的要求，他们也是另外一个监管单位，所以对这个车厂的角色有时候就会有点不太清楚。那真的发生这样子的事件的时候呢，我的对口到底是对 SAMR 呢，还是对 MIIT？ 那我的这些这个 recall 的一个要求呢，是同时要这两个监管单位都合可才能执行吗？还是只要其中的一个来去执行就好？所以你在看到这个监管单位啊，跟我们技术上面呢，还是有一些混乱的一个状况。
All right, I will skip the next page because of time, and I come to the more important page here right now. That is the OTA, all right? And I think very important is to ask, how are we ensuring a software update by over the air, you know, after actually SOP? So you can see here after SOP, but we have also end of production and we have end of life. So are we really can take care about software updates, and are we releasing software updates, in the time between end of production to end of life? And today I can tell you it would not be even possible. We cannot make a software update to those vehicles. They are not ready for that one.
好，
So,
那
yeah.
sorry，所以这边
Go
你
ahead.
可以看到哈，除了这个 SOP 量产以后呢，还有好几个milestone 啊。第一个是 end of production，就是我们的量产结束以后，那这个车子还是继续会在市场上面是在道路上行驶，所以最后真的要做 EOL， 就是产品这个废气回收以后，那我在这么长，其实你可以想到，其实这个使用的生命周期是比你想象中的很长啊。我怎么去确保在这个各个阶段一直到它从市面上这个废气回收以后，我都可以持续的去做 OTA 来去做这个技术的一些软体的一些更新以现在的车子的技术其实是没有办法做到的或是大家的能力是没有办法做到的。
Very important is that, of course, before we're doing a software update, we need to release this one. We need to approve it. We need to test it on a certain fleet. First, we have a simulation usually, then we're testing it with the car in the system environment. Then we need to test it for the fleet, then for a few cars, and then we can send it to the fleet. Unfortunately, some OEMs and also Chinese OEMs included, and in particular one American who's producing in Shanghai, they're doing OTA updates on a regular basis. And we had some cases for OTA updates where the whole, let's say, approved vehicle on NEVs was changed. So, for example, the range before was 400 kilometers. Then they make a software update because they had some fire cases. They changed actually the loading for the battery, that they can only load the battery up to 70%. And then, of course, they have not, the same kilometers they can drive anymore. That is downsized the whole vehicle. So customer, of course, will be unhappy about that one. And that is what currently happening. And of course, we have also software updates on, for example, safety systems where we have already accidents based on that one. And that is why, of course, I understand the Chinese authorities very well, that they want to have a very clear control about the software updates before they're getting applied to the car.
好，那其实用软体更新上面，我们想想看，我们在做实体的这个零件变更的时候，我们是不是其实要重新做 release 来去做放行，对不对？那软体放行，当然了，如果你用OTA， 你也是软体的变更更新，对不对？那你是不是也要采用同样的概念，用去 VDA 2来去做软体放行？好，这是第一个概念。那接下来他有提到，比如说这些的变更呢，有时候甚至会影响到车子的一些性能比如说因为有一些这个电车，它因为以前有这个电池失火的一些原因，所以呢，它透过软体更新呢，将它的这个电池的负载呢，把它降到70，这样就会影响到它可以继续行驶的一些里程数那对于这些变新，这个软体的更新怎么影响到这个车子的 performance？ 那对顾客来说当然是不是很高兴。那对这些监管单位来说呢，怎么去透过 OTA 来去做跟安全相关的一些改善跟控制呢，是非常重要的。
So we actually have the VDA 2, and in the VDA 2, which has been already released 2 years ago, we have the PPAP approval. So we have the production and parts approval, and we have a part for software release. And I showed you on the next page. Actually, here you can see that we have for software approval a cover sheet, all right, where you need really with signatures, of course, can be digital, but with signature, you need to release that the new software, and that also includes the OTA software updates, it's released, that it's safe, and that all needs to be documented. And we cannot just make a change which has a tremendous impact to the car without any kind of release documentation. This is very important.
对，所以这个还是有一些产业上的差别所以你这个 OTA 不是这样子一个定期的一直定期的去做更新，但是因为你现在这个软体呢是跟汽车有关，所以呢在 VDA 2这个手册大概2年前2020年发布的 VDA 手册呢，你这边看到呢，其实在它的附件5里面呢就已经有软体的 release 软体的核可，所以在你做这些软体的更新上面呢，你内部的放行一定要还有人 sign off 所以这个以这个汽车业的管理角度上面来说，这个就算是软体，但是你只要对你的规格、对安全有这样相关的一些影响的时候，你就要做合适的放行。
All right, so I would like to come to the next very important point, which is also data security and data protection. I think you all heard that we have a new data protection law here in China. And of course, we also have big issues with, let's say, transferring data cross-border. Let's say Tesla had a big issue here because they also had data they were sending to servers in the US. Now that is all changed. Now the servers all here in China. But also data privacy means if you have a camera system in your car, and of course we will have camera system in our cars for autonomous driving functions, then you know, we have biometrical data when you are recording faces, and this is private data which you're not allowed to store. So there's a huge discussion ongoing, and you know also that Didi has actually taken off from the app has been taken off from the App Store because some data were leaking. So data, of course, of important persons also here in China were leaking to the US as well, and that was against the data protection law, also about the cross-border data transmission laws. Okay, and that's the reason why Didi has a serious problem currently with their business performance here in China.
好，所以他这边也提到哈，分享在中国呢有一个新的这个法规要求，是针对这个数据储存的一些要求，尤其他特别提到这些数据呢不能储存在美国的一些地区网站啊，所以呢这里面提到，譬如说这边画面上看到的滴滴啊，滴滴目前在在中国是可能没有办法运行，是因为它这个数据储存上面呢可能违反中国的一些法律，而且这里面呢它里面可能储存到一些重要的个资，而且是重要人士的个资呢。发现是被它 leak 泄露到美国那对 Tesla 上面也有相关的一些这个数据上面一些新的要求。以往呢 Tesla 它的数据也是储存在美国，那因为了符合法律的要求，也把它的数据中心呢特别的移回中国顾客的一些个资呢会把它移回在中国。那对未来的这个汽车上面呢，这些都会是应用到的，尤其是你未来可能有自驾，尤其这里面你有这个摄像头就是摄影机这样子的一个功能，而且会刷到这个顾客的脸更重要的个资，那对法律来说你是不能储存不能利用这些个资的，所以你要怎么去做配合，怎么去符合这些法律的要求呢？
All right, now time is only 10 minutes more, Heidi, and that is why I think I will skip the chapter 3 because we don't have time anymore. Maybe just very shortly, let me tell you that you can find that on our European webpage, and you can see what is coming up new. So very important, maybe very quickly, I say that one is the VDA 6.3 is currently under revision. We expect a new VDA 6.3 by end of this year, or let's say beginning of next year. And what is also totally new is the technical compliance management. I was talking about that, and when we have a lot of new laws coming out, so technical compliance becomes very, very important issue.
好，那因为时间的关系我们这边就直接跳到这一页。那这个呢是在 VDA 的德国网站上面大家可以下载的那对于我们这些最新的标准上面2个重点请大家留意一下，尤其是新的 VDA 6.3时程上面呢会新的改版，那大家可以大概考虑的点呢，大概就是会有新的标准出来，那接下来也会升级的一些课程。那我们预计呢大概是今年的 Q4 或是有可能是明年2023年的 Q1 好，那另外一个呢是在这个 PG 6.8 这边有PG TCMS抱歉 TCMS 也就是说技术上面的一些符合性怎么去做管理，就像我们刚刚提到的这些新的一些技术你要怎么去做符合这些法律法规你要怎么去做符合到时候大家都应该参考这个手册上面的一些 guideline。
All right, here you can see about all the new standards which has been released, but I jump over that one. Important is, and I was presenting that already last time, over the life cycle actually, when which standard is kind of important. I give you this overview. I cannot explain it right now. We can run another conference if you're interested in that one because of the time.
好，那这个呢也是用整个生命周期来去分析说明一下适用的一些核心工具。那当然我们没有办法细说，如果大家真的有兴趣的话，我们可以在下一次或是再规划不一样的研讨会来去做说明。
All right, now I will skip some parts which is important because I would shortly come to the CSRs. So of course I think you have recognized that some customer specific requirements has been changed. So customer specific requirements for Volkswagen, BMW and Daimler, and I just want to highlight Volkswagen and Daimler which has been changed.
好，那这个呢是用整个生命周期来去分析说明一下适用的一些核心工具。那当然我们没有办法细说，如果大家真的有兴趣的话，我们可以在下一次或是再规划不一样的研讨会来去做说明。 All right, now I will skip some parts which is important because I would shortly come to the CSRs. So of course I think you have recognized that some customer specific requirements has been changed. So customer specific requirements for Volkswagen, BMW and Daimler, and I'm just want to highlight Volkswagen and Daimler, which has been changed. 好，那我们都知道，尤其近期在 ITF 网站上面呢 ，Volkswagen 跟 BMW Daimler 呢都有更新它的 CSR。那我们等一下会重点在福斯还有这个戴姆勒 Mercedes-Benz 上面更新的 CSR。
All right, so here you can see on the EATF global oversight page, you can see that the EATF 6949 customer specific requirements from Volkswagen has been changed. So here is a little overview. You see here product safety. That is what I was telling before. The PSCR requirement for product integrity has been changed, so not PSB anymore. And there are more requirements over here. Just summarizing very quickly, you can see that there are a lot of requests for VDA standards like VDA 6.3, Automotive SPICE, ACSMS, VDA 6.5, majority level assurance, VDA 2, VDA 5, and so on. So there's a lot of those requirements which are clearly defined in the customer-specific requirements.
好，所以是这个既有的或是更新的这些 CSR，我们把它整理出来哈。所以刚刚第一页我们看到的 PSB， 目前你很明确的已经被 PI 所谓的 PSCR 来取代了哈。其他你可以看到，比如说软体上面呢，也有 ACSMS 的要求，好，或是这个资讯安全 ACSMS 哈，这个软体的这个网络安全上面的一些要求，还包含 VDA 6.5 MLA 等等的啊，还有特殊特性啊，这个 DTLD 特殊特性啊，其实都有列在上面的这个相关的要求。
All right, for Daimler, it's the same. They also adjusting their specific requirements, customer specific requirements. They have their special terms. They have been changed already in 2020, and they are also requesting a lot of, let's say, revert VDA standards.
好，那这个 Mercedes-Benz 哈，戴姆勒集团你也可以看到哈，尤其是它这个细部的这个供应商手册，2020年的这个发布的 Special Term 里面呢，也列出相关的 VDA 的标准哈，在荧幕上面也可以看到。
All right, so now let's come to the next topic of the new area because I think it's very important of deglobalization, chip shortage, and COVID-19. So actually. When we're looking to all the things which are going on around the world right now, and I have not included here the impact on the war currently from Ukraine, which we have in Europe. You see, COVID-19, of course, is a major contributor, but also the blockage of the Suez Canal had a big issue. The U.S. trade war has a very big issues. Also, the fires we had in California. Hurricanes, volcano in Japan, the earthquake with a tsunami there. So, and then also the floods in Chennai. So in general, we have a big impact and just also including the chip shortage, which have, of course, a tremendous impact to our supply chain.
你可以看到，就是从过往的一些天灾人祸里面哈，造成的那个经济上面的是损失，但是相对于我们 COVID-19 疫情上面的影响哈，还是目前是对全球上来说是最大影响的一件事情。
All right, so when we look into that one, resilience, we're calling it along the supply chain. Here you can see a resilient compass from Kearney, a consulting company. It's very important for the supply dimension, and that of course includes the semiconductors, but also shortage, for example, on wire harnesses right now to the war we have in Ukraine. So it's something very important and will be very important for the future. And the automotive industry will check actually, and we call it the new area, if the global trade is still possible and what kind of barriers are in there, also political barriers. And that will be a decision to localize. So, for example, Intel has just announced that they will open a plant in Germany so that we have semiconductors also produced then directly in in Germany. So all this is a part of the deglobalization strategy.
好，那从过往这些天灾人祸，尤其是 COVID-19 的影响哈，你会发现这些不管是世界大厂或是不一样的行业呢，对整个供应链里面的韧性 resilience 是越来越要求。那也兴起了一个风潮，就是说譬如说像目前这个台湾或是所谓的这个晶片的一些短缺，或是因为在乌克兰的一些战争哈，这边有个所谓 wire harness 线束这样子的供货的一些短缺，或是全球物流上的影响，所以有一个所谓的去全球化的一个风潮。好，像是 Intel 哈，在去年也宣布他们要拉回在德国也要设厂，而不是用中国或是台湾的这个晶片。好，这个是因为目前的这个浪潮哈，所以新的一个变化。
Heidi, we need to hurry up a little bit, all right? So we have the Responsible Supply Chain Initiative also in Germany, because what is also very important, we have a supply chain law in Germany, and there will be also one in Europe very soon released, where we're talking about actually sustainability along the automotive supply chain, which has to be established.
好，那这个呢，给大家看见是所谓供应链的这个负责倡议哈，那也都是有一些比较大的德国供应商啊，德国的厂家参加的。
So human rights become a big issue, but also social compliance, health, safety, environment, that all will be audited, and it's a must. Otherwise, you cannot get nominated as a supplier. So it's a big issue.
好，
And this audits will start soon.
那当然，它这也是一个可以稽核的方法哈，里面提到也会稽核基本的人权，或是所谓的这个环境上面，好，或是合规性上面，这样都会是稽核的要求。
And then here also another example, when you start to export from Taiwan or even from China, here's an example for NIO. As you know, they are shipping cars already to Norway, and Germany will be the next market. Then, of course, it's a question, you know, are the supply chain, you know, qualified? Do they really know about all the requirements, you know, and the regulations which we have, for example, in Europe, where the products at the end will be sold? So it's very important that the entire supply chain know about, you know, the laws which are existing in the countries where the cars are sold, and that is not the case right now.
好，那当然这里面还会提到你未来要销售到哪个区域，你就要知道当地的法律啊。所以这个在 PSR 里面也特别提到，你要知道好销售国家的一些法律。目前在我们供应链还做得不是很好。
And that's why I'm highlighting in here the sustainability audits will getting much more important and will be provided along the entire supply chain down to the raw material supplier.
所以可以预见呢，这个刚刚提到的这个 sustainability 哈，就是永续系的一个供应链里面那个稽核哈，这个标准呢，在供应链里面未来是会越来越重要的，甚至对一直延伸到我们原物料的这个供应商。
Now, very shortly, coming to the last, but also very, very important topic, and I personally also want to share that one. So sorry if I do a little bit too much of my time here right now. That's the Ukraine war and the sanction against Russia. You know, first of all, I also would like to ask if you have already felt any impact. Of course, you cannot give answers, but of course, we think it's very serious, and we take that very, very as a very important issues, and the democracies actually need to stick together because this war is totally unacceptable for everyone who is living in a democracy.
好虽然已经超过时间，但是我跟铁总都讨论过，这是非常重要的议题，所以我们还是会讨论目前乌克兰战争。当然，他这边有个大哉问，就是说乌克兰战争不知道对各位的业务有没有任何影响？虽然大家没有办法回答，但是大家可以想想哈。当然，他也要带来一个很重要的讯息，就是说这场战争基本上是不可以被接受的。在民主这样的制度呢，在我们全世界啊是应该要珍惜而且团结起来的。
And here you can see a clear statement of our president, Mrs. Müller. He condemned the brutal war in the Ukraine. That is an act against international rights and humanity. And of course, we also know that the Russian army is targeting civilization and population. They were bombing hospitals and actually, you know, other, let's say, not military buildings. And that is, of course, something which we condemn very intensively.
好，所以这边还是要分享一下 VDA 的观点哈，尤其是 VDA 的这个 President 好 Miss Müller 呢已经有表态说明这个战争呢是一个非常残酷而且是不可以接受，尤其是俄军呢他针对这个平民上面的一些攻击的行为呢，这是已经违反人权跟人性这样子的一个动作。
So what we did, the Germans stopped all the deliveries immediately of all cars to Russia. But what we also did, we stopped all our operations in Russia. So we shut down, for example, the plants of Volkswagen in Kaluga and Ishki Novgorod, that are two cities in Russia. and Volkswagen were fluing out all the managers there. We still have 4,000 employees of Volkswagen, which still receiving their salary. But we don't know if this plant can be reopened one day. We really have no clue right now what's going on.
好，那当然呢，这个我们的德国汽车厂呢也有相应的一些制裁的一些动作哦，包含已经不再配送车子到俄国的市场。那在所有俄国的这些工厂呢，也都已经停工了哈，包含 Volkswagen 它在这个卡卢嘎这样子的工厂呢已经停工，好但是当然还有继续支付他们的薪水。
Also very important, we are not allowed to, we have a new law for this one, we are not allowed to ship any spare parts even more to Russia, because they also found some parts in military, let's say, equipment there. So that is not allowed to send anything anymore to Russia right now.
好，那就德国的法律也有说哈，这些德国的供应链呢也不能再运送新的这个 spare part 备件呢到俄罗斯的市场。
We also have a VDA task force because I said already before, a lot of wire harnesses came from Ukraine. So actually production lines get stopped in Germany because we don't have wire harnesses anymore. And we have initiated a task force to help and support. And we also have, we are a fundraiser together with the VDA, that's a German industry, let's say, association. We are helping the victims of this war.
好，那当然呢 ，VDA 也扮演一些倡议的一些角色。目前也有许多这个 task force 所谓的这个特殊的一些任务小组哦，也就是说针对这个乌克兰的这些战争上面呢，也提供相对说看有没有提供什么样的援助。那VDA 也主办了一个这个慈善的一些募款啊，透过这个德国的工业协会，希望来去募款，可以帮助乌克兰这个战争的难民。
All right. Also, we had a technical congress last week in Berlin, where everything, was under discussion also of the war and the change of time, and what does it mean also for the automotive industry, but also economically worldwide.
那当然，这个话题在德国还是非常影响非常大的哈。也就是说 ，VDA 自己本身，比如说内部的一些技术的一些研讨会啊，都会讨论到这个议题，也是相对比较严肃一个重大的一个议题。
So of course, you know that the SWIFT system was blocked. Of course, Germany is very much relying still on oil and gas from Russia. So we will prove how we can get independent from Russia in the future, but we will also prove how we can get independent from other countries where we're relying on. So that is what I'm talking about, the change of time and deglobalization. Of course, we also looking very carefully how China is operating in this war in their relation to Russia, because it's seen internationally very critical. And of course, we will also look, about the, let's say, diplomatic relation between Taiwan and China. It's a big topic for us, and we will look very carefully what will happening here. And of course, we also, let's say, and that was said by our ambassador here in China, our German ambassador. He said that China are currently not talking about the war. They're talking only about an invention from Russian army. That is wrong from our perspective from Germany. So with other words, Europe is standing as close together as they have never been before. We were never expecting that something like that is possible in 2020 in this century. That we will have still a war like that. And again, I must say very clearly, we condemn what is going on, and we do our best to support Ukraine. But of course, we cannot go there with military, because that would mean we would have a third world war. And of course, we need to avoid that one.
那也是因为有这样的战事，所以目前欧盟各国都非常的团结。虽然没有办法立即派兵去现场资助援助，但是他们会尽一切好来去帮助乌克兰。
All right, so with this one, with this very last set story, I come very quickly to the summary, and maybe I skip this chart here as well because of time, and this one as well. I'm just coming to my last chart of the summary. So what are the future challenges? Future challenges, of course, is the ecosystem where car manufacturers need to think about mobility as a service will get the main contributor for the success of the future.
所以我们来做最后的总结啊，也就是说提到这个 ecosystem 啊，这个生态呢，对这个汽车业来说呢，未来是非常关键的一个角色。
The second point, we of course need to fulfill the requirements of young customer who want to have digital products and services. So cars needs to be digital products and having digital services.
而且呢，我们对车子的这个定义哈，因为未来都是一个新的年轻人消费者的世代哈，所以我们汽车会是一个数位化的一个产品。
Then quality management, as I showed before on the chart, will totally change into new areas of digitalization and is definitely changing at all.
好，那当然对于这些技术的一些变化，你可以想到哈，我们的品质管理哈，一定要来去配合，来去做一些相应的改变。
All right, and then the software, as I said before, will be increased by 60% by 2025 and by 100% by 2030. So that has also a major impact because software is really the key for the success of the future.
对于这个预测呢，看到2025年呢，好，软体会增加60%，到2030年呢，也会 double 到100%，所以你可以想到，软体在未来一定是非常重要的角色。
OTA becomes a very, very important topic because we can change cars, we can change the whole homologation of cars. So it will become a very important issue. To have safe cars, we need also have safe software updates and clearly good released softwares.
好，那我们刚刚提到软体更新的技术呢，当然对未来非常重要，尤其呢它是会跟安全有关的哈，所以这个是未来关注发展的一个重点。
Then, of course, 80% of the cyber attacks coming by OTA. That is why OTA is so important because we need to avoid these cyber attacks when we do OTA updates.
而且呢，80%的这个骇客攻击呢，都是由这个联网的这个更新哈，这样子的这个使用阶段所造成的。所以 OTA 呢，当然对这个网络安全是个重要的环节。
Okay, then CSMS requirement, I said, based on UN ECE regulations, will be valid from or mandatory from summer 2022 in July. I said that already.
好，那这个网络安全的管理系统啊，这个 UNECE 的这个 R15呢，在今年的2022年的7月呢，是一个强制的要求了。
Then the Cybersecurity Incident Response Center is very important, needs to be established and needs to be available.
根据这个 UNECE R15呢，这样子的一个要求呢，也提到呢，我们这个骇客这个网络安全事件的这个处理的这个程序，还有这个处理这个中心在组织里面呢，这也是非常重要的哈，这也是个要求，从这个标准里面的一个要求。
The automotive spies for cybersecurity will be released soon. I was not mentioning too much about that one, but this is very important part for the software development.
那针对这个网络安全的管理呢 ，ACSMS 呢也有个新的手册 ，ACSMS 的网络安全管理。那请大家特别留意关注啊，这里面对于相关的这个汽车业的一些做法，都有在这个手册里面做说明。
And then we have, of course, a lot of new regulations. I always call it the fireworks of GBTs and GBs about all digitalization. So we, of course, need to fulfill all those new regulations and we need to study them carefully and implement it in our organization.
好，那当然呢，整个法律上面的合规性不管是台湾的法律或是中国的一些法律呢，大家都要留意，去确保法律的合规性。
And then Agile Collaboration and SPIs, I think it's very important. We need to see also that software is very often developed in Agile collaborations. So we should think about how we're working together when different teams or different organizations working in Agile.
那尤其在软体未来在车业这么重要，软体业常用的所谓 Agile 敏捷协作这样的这个 工具哈大家也务必要想办法去了解哈，尤其是在未来可能会是一个常用的一个手法，怎么用 Agile 来去跟不一样的部门、不一样的组织、不一样的外部人一起去协同合作。
All right, and then the interruption of the global supply chain, I just tried to explain it, which we call a new area of deglobalization, and resilience management will become very important. So we will also see what kind of impact that will have to Taiwan, but this is a very important topic.
好，那由于这1-2年的这个疫情的相关的一些影响哈，去全球化好，对我们这个产业上面相关的一些影响，还有呢对永续，还有这个供应商的这个韧性上面的一些相关的一些管理啊，这个是会来我们品质上面的一个重要的一个要求。
Okay, and then the war in Ukraine will accelerate also the new area of deglobalization because, as I said already, we will also prove not only for Russia how reliable we are, we will check it also for other, let's say, nations, and we will see how we can actually have a more resilience also in regards of supply chain for whole nations.
那当然，这一次乌克兰的战争呢，也只会在加速推动去全球化。那包含从乌克兰刚刚提到的这个线束的一些短缺啊，在其他国家地区，好，如果有一些这个生产太过集中，可能也会让这些车厂来去思考怎么去全球化。
All right, and last but not least, very important is also the supply chain evaluation because we have a law for this one in Germany and very soon in Europe, where we need to assure the sustainability, including the human rights rating. That will be, of course, also a very big issue, and that will be also an issue here, of course, for China, but not only for China, also for India and a lot of other regions where we have to see if, and also when we look into cobalt in the mines in Africa, where we really have to see if they are fulfilling all those requirements.
那接下来呢，除了对品质的要求呢，对我们供应链里面呢，可能还有更多永续经营上面的一些要求哈。所以未来不管是对中国、东南亚、印度或等等非洲等等的供应链呢，这样子适用的要求呢，可能都会适用。
With this one, I'm coming a little later to the end. Sorry about that time management today, but I think a lot of hot topics we need to discuss. Thank you very much for your attention. I'm looking forward to continue the dialogue with you, and thank you very much, Heidi, for translating.
谢谢哈。那Tillman也不好意思，就是说时间上面的一些控制哈，但是因为实在有很多重要的这个议题要跟大家分享。那以上就是我们 Mr. Tillman 今天的这个精彩的一些